Hello everyone. Today in my kitchen we are cooking a very simple basic dish. It's tarka dal. So today I'm doing a very simple recipe. Most people should be able to use this. We have this all the time at home. This is a mix of red lentils and mung beans. Look. So what I have here in a small pan is 100 grams of each. So it's red lentil, masoor lentils and mung lentils. I've washed them, rinsed them thoroughly. Haven't soaked them. I've just put them in a pan with approximately just over a litre of water. But now give it a good stir. I'm going to cook this on full power. So we're going to just get it to, I haven't added too much water in there. So adding a teaspoon of turmeric, just a bit of colour. I've got here some chopped garlic, 2 cloves. I've got here is a nice green chilli. And here we have, I'd say a medium to large size onion, just chopped roughly. And then you want put about just about, I would say, less than a teaspoon, level teaspoon salt. We'll put a little bit less in now and add a bit later. All we're going to do is cook this down until the onions are very soft. You want the lentils to break down. This is going to be a smooth lentil tarka dal. And the tarka, we're going to use some garlic and a few whole spices. But this is going to take about, 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm going to increase the heat, full whack, and just keep cooking away. If the water reduces, just add a bit more water to it until it breaks down. And that's how simple it is to start your tarka dal. As you can see, the dal's been boiling very nicely. Look at that, it's breaking down. You can see that. It's getting mushy, and that's what we want. That's been for about 15 minutes or so, because I haven't put too much water in. You can add a bit more water later if you want a thinner dal, thinner soup. Some people like that. If you want a thicker dal, you can reduce it down a bit more. But I like it in between. Look at the onions, everything is breaking down. So I don't want to bore you too much with watching dal boil, but just want to show you how it should look. And the mung dal always takes a bit longer to cook. It's a bit more nuttier. While the red lentils, they cook through very quick. Now you can just, I wouldn't put a lid on there. Put a lid halfway so it doesn't splatter too much. Like this. Put it like this. So halfway there, reducing down, it's breaking down, it's not making too much of a mess. Now we come back to the dal after 5 minutes. Now it's starting to thick, just lift it off the heat. It's sticking a little bit at the bottom, so what I'm going to do is just add a touch of warm water to that. As you can see, stop sticking. Now I'm going to break down nicely. Give it another 10 minutes. If you do it in a pressure cooker, you can put this in a pressure cooker and within 3-4 whistles it's done, or within 10 minutes in an Instapot. It'll be fully cooked out and broken down. Very smooth. We're going to do the same thing again. Add in there. And there you go. So now that's been cooking away. Can you see it's changing? That's what I'm looking for now. Reduce the heat now. Now you're going to add more water, make it runnier now. We'll switch the heat off for a second because I think I've cooked. Now what I'm going to do now, so you can get yourself a whisk and you just want to whisk that. Break it down a bit, you see. Now again, if it's too thick, like I'm seeing now, it's fairly thick, so I might add a bit more water to it. Just cook and boil it for a couple more minutes before we do the tarka. See that? That's what I want. I want a medium thick dal there. So I'm actually happy with that. When it's thinner, you can actually cook it down a bit longer. I like this creamy consistency where it's not too broken down. If you use a hand blender, you can make it very smooth. But I want those mung dal texture in there. Now we're going to do the tarka, and I'll show you how. I've got this little frying pan. It's getting quite hot there, so I'm going to cover it's just olive oil. It seems quite a lot, but it's actually how you have to do it properly. I'm going to first put some dried chili and let that brown off a little bit. And what I've done, dal, I've added half a tomato in there already. So that's just softening the residual heat. You start browning these chilies. So once they're brown, darker brown, you start adding garlic, cumin, and a bit of mustard. And then we finish off with some coriander. Cover it, you see. Time the garlic and everything else cooks. Put the heat down to medium now. I don't want the garlic to burn now, too hot. So quick. Garlic, cumin, everything in there. You take it off a little bit. Start cooking everything. This way, you just get it just that light brown. oil pan so that you steam the oil. And there you have. Let's bring it. Look at that. That is a proper tarka dal. Give it a stir. Put it on a very low heat just to combine. And I like a lot of coriander, so get that through. Brilliant dal. And that is very simple tarka dal. Enjoy. So what are we cooking today? Well, today, for everyone out there who's watching, thank you. Aloo gobi with a little twist. So we've got about half a cauliflower, and also I've got some the leaves from the cauliflower, the outside leaves. About 3 that I've sliced, as you can see, nice and fine. We've got some just baby potatoes, new potatoes, I think, quite small. They're fairly waxy, I've been told. I hope so, because I don't want them to break down. I want to keep them whole and infuse all the spices. Can you see? So just cut them in half. But my twist today, I'm going to add some sliced beans. So these are runner beans. You can use any other beans if you want. I had some left over in the fridge, so I'm just basically using up quite a few things that I had in the fridge. So I've got some onions. Remember, these are the pinkish little onions that you can get from Indian shops. You can use regular onions. Use any onions you feel like, whatever you have at home. There's some garlic. They've actually, look, sliced. So I like to slice this way, because most of the time, as you see, they're quite equal and they don't burn. You can slice it long ways, they tend to burn. Bit of a twist here. I've got some spring onions. So there's 2 spring onions, scallions, or what they're called. So that's the greens and the whites. So I'm going to use all of that. Bit of fresh chopped coriander. This is half a tomato, and it's not going to be too hot. I've got a bullet chili that I've just slit. Can you see? Got the usual spices, but today I've got something different. This is a sort of Bengali style dish that we're doing. So I'm going to use this mixture here. It's a Bengali 5-spice mix. So this is called Panch Foran. Panch Foran. Pardon my pronunciation is not that good. So it's a Bengali spice. It's nigella, fennel, fenugreek, cumin, mustard seeds in this one. This is a pre-made, ready-mix one that I've just bought in the shop because life's too short. Can you see? Look at that. Let's have a look. And that's really it. And to cook with today, I've got a one of these non-stick pans with a lid. And I'm going to use actually some this light olive oil. And of course a little bit of salt. And we're going to use turmeric, no chili in this one. Bit of cumin, bit of coriander, some garam masala. They're the sort of 4 spices we're using. Not too much spicing in this one. It's quite a light dish. The way I'm doing it is called a bhaji. Bhaji basically is like a fry. There's not going to be much sauce in this one, but trust me, it's a nice side dish or a main dish. It is a bit drier than like Indian restaurant in England. I'll do another aloo gobi with gravy and another point. But today it's just going to be quite a simple. Basically, we're going to steam some potatoes, steam the cauliflower in spices, steam the beans, have a nice, lots of onions there, give it like sweet caramel flavor. What to do? Let's go. Put the heat on to medium. So I just want to cover the bottom of the pan. Let's look. It's starting to sizzle there, look. A pinch, you see? Just put that in there. And that's going to flavour 2 pinches, sorry. Let that crackle, it's going to come. Ooh, I like that smell. Put a little bit more, look. These whole spices are crackling, so we're just going to now chili. Break down the onions a little bit, so I've got this much salt here, about 2/3 teaspoon to start with. You know, we'll add a little bit later. This is to help the onions soften a little bit, and this way they will caramelize slowly in a medium heat. Chop them too finely, they'll just start burning. Now I'm going to add spring onion, 4 spring onions, and this will give me a sweet flavor. So that's been cooking like a couple of minutes now. So what you can do, you leave the lid on for about 30 seconds. That's been about. Now, it's been about a minute. We cooked about 3-4 minutes now. You can see the onions are softening. We're not browning yet, we're just softening to a low heat. We add the garlic. Now we soften the garlic. We're not brown the garlic, it's going to soften everything. In this dish we'll have a slow caramelized flavor on this. You can speed things up by boiling the potatoes and boiling the cauliflower, but personally it's great when you want to do quick, but it doesn't have that same flavor. And this is something my mother would personally do. She prefers it. I'll be back in about 2 minutes on a medium-low heat with the lid on, so the steam is generating and it's slowly softening the onions and the garlic without burning it too much in its own juice. It's been a couple of minutes with the lid on, medium-low heat. Let's have a look what it looks like. Big reveal. Now, you can see it started to. Oh, look at that. So the onions have started reducing size because they're releasing all their water and the color slowly changing. But you can see, look, it hasn't burnt yet. So now it's getting light golden. Oh, look, see one garlic has started to get a bit of color, a little bit of color, but now we'll add a bit of spice now, so it slowly starts cooking out. So let's get this ready. So I would get about probably under a teaspoon of turmeric. I like coriander in this, so teaspoon of coriander. Remember, there's already whole spices in there. I don't want to put too many, tiny. About half teaspoon, 1/3 teaspoon. A very small amount of garam masala. This dish, the onions, the garlic, the salt, the flavor, the vegetables. But it's just the technique of getting this stage nice and sweet. And if you don't want it hot, if you don't like chilies, take the chili out, not a problem. I'll probably take it out later, but that just gives a background heat without overpowering. Have a look at close up there. Look, you need to have that little sizzle. I've seen a lot of people, they either do it too high heat or too low heat. This way you can just leave. I'm just watching. Look at that. I'm going to cook that out for approximately a minute with the lid on again, and then we'll add the vegetables. A minute now. Wow, look at that. Look, now it's catching. You'll see getting a nice brown, golden brown onion. What we do now, so now the potatoes. Now what I've done, I've cut them and I soaked them in water for a little bit. So there'll be a bit of additional water going in just off the back of this. So I want to add the potatoes. That's the potato. Coat it there. And now reduce the. So we put the heat down to low. Cook that for about 3 minutes on a low heat. And we'll come to check it again. It's generating its own steam, so we're starting to steam. You don't want to put the cauliflower in too early because then it will just get too soft. These potatoes need cooking out. It's been 3 minutes now, so let's have a look what it looks like. Okay. Give it a quick stir. Now it's tricky not to burn the onions. It can happen if you. Now the potatoes have got some colour on there. Can you see? The cauliflower now. Just coating the cauliflower. Cauliflower is still on low heat now. Now we don't need to color the cauliflower too much. Potatoes, we want the nice caramelization on the outside. The sugars, look at that, the cauliflower. That's what we want, nice yellowy. Green vegetables there. The beans. The white. Nice to see the colors are all developing there. So that's the leaf from the cauliflower. Coriander now. You may have known I like coriander, so some tomatoes. There's the tomato there. We just want to use the tomato as a bit of a tiny device here as well. Okay, lid on. Now this, we're going to steam on a very low heat for about first 10 minutes. We check, give it a stir, then probably another 10 minutes until it's completely cooked through. But if it's cooked through after 10, you can check. It should take 15-20 minutes really, but just need to check. What you don't want to do is burn it. Then we taste the seasoning. Usually when the tomatoes are softened and broken down nicely without dissolving, it tends to be right. So I'm going to put it at a low heat now, and we'll be back and we check on it in about 10 minutes. It's been about 7 minutes. We'll just give it a stir. Now it can take another 10 minutes or 15 minutes on a very low heat, on a medium to low heat, sorry. Not very low, otherwise it takes too long. It's just getting that balance between steaming without burning, all the flavors and mixing together. And at the end we will, once they are, all the vegetables are soft, we increase the heat and we stir fry, add lots of coriander. So it's been further 5 minutes. Look at that. You can see. So we'll give it another 5 more minutes for the cauliflower to get a bit more tender. Potatoes are done, it's softening a little bit. Everything else is done, just the cauliflower. So 5 more minutes and then we're ready. Wow, look at that. Now this is soft. Now the cauliflower is nice and cooked. Gobi. With some, let's get that off the heat. Hi everyone, today we're going to cook a very simple vegan dish. Had a lot of meat over Easter, lockdown, and fancied a bit of a change. So we are doing a chickpea. That's 1 tin of chickpeas. That's 1 Maris Piper potato. So it's chickpea and potato jalfrezi. So I've got 1 small reddish onion, sliced. Have a look how it looks. Look. That's how I want the slices for the jalfrezi. Got a red pepper, sliced thin like this. This is actually a bullet chili. You can use a green pepper, but I need a little heat in this dish today because I've had lots of mild dishes for my daughter. So I'm going to crank up the spice today. So for the base, we've got, this is an Indian onion, so I've chopped it finely. This is a fresh, about 2-inch piece of ginger that I've chopped. 4 or 5, I think it's 5 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. This is 2 green chilies I've slit in half. I've got, this is 1 tomato chopped. Then you have here half a tomato, quartered. I've got a lime juice, well, a bit of lime that I'm going to use. Bit of a tomato puree, fresh coriander, kasuri methi, fenugreek leaves, it's dried. Gives a nice fragrance to this. And I've got a bunch of spices. No whole spices today in this one. It's going to be as quick as we can. Let's see how long if we can do this in about 15 minutes or something. Basically, as long as it takes for the onions and the potatoes to cook down. So this is a Maris Piper potato. I find it's quite all-rounder for this dish. It can get too mushy. And that's just 1 tin I bought, standard tin of chickpeas. And I've got a bit of warm water here. It's about 300 mils there, but I'll probably use 100, 200. We'll see as we go. So we're going to start with a little bit of oil. I don't know how that is. Okay, so a little bit more. Just want to cover the bottom, as you can see. And it's on high heat now, so I just want to heat that up. First I'm going to do the onions here, so what I'm going to do is add a bit of turmeric to the onions and pepper. Got the methi, mix that. See, it's getting a nice mix on that. This is in high heat, just no salt, no nothing. It's got a beautiful colour now. That's from the turmeric, and it gives a nice fragrance. From the fenugreek, the methi. So we'll put that on full high heat. Let it cook. You've got to stir it a bit. You don't want to catch too much. I'm just going to let that cook for about 2 minutes. Let that heat up. As you can see, that's got a bit of caramelization there. It's just around the edges, still a bit firm. Yeah, it's not too cooked through. saute food. Take them a little bit longer, but I like them a little bit firm, not too. Aside. See if it's got the same amount of oil now. So we start making the masala in here. This time, because I'm making it quite hot here, start with the chili. So one of the sweet chilies. Start with chili. Finely chopped onion. Just now just onion in there. A bit of salt, I'd say about half a teaspoon. Pinch of fenugreek, a bit of a nice fragrance, a bit of flavour. Quite nicely. Now this dish, I've got quite a lot of ginger in there, like it's robustly spiced. So I'm chucking in the ginger and the garlic, but it's chopped. It's not pureed like many people would say, because I want to taste more ginger and garlic in this, but of course that's not really like it. Add the lid, put the heat down to medium for a sec. We'll come back in 1 minute. Don't touch it, don't do anything. So we have 1 minute, so the steam is generated in there. Put it away. Add tomatoes, look at that colour developing. That is main sauce developing. Now just to add a little bit of tomato puree, dilute it. It's fine, double concentrated, and then dilute it a little bit. Just going to cook that out for a minute, and then we'll add the spices. Add the lid. Give it another minute. Then the trick is having medium heat, but also having a bit of steam that have softened the onions and also softened all the other flavors in that. So now we're going to add some powdered spices. So this is quite robust dish, so don't worry, it's about a teaspoon. Turmeric. It's already got a lot of chilies in there, but it's going to have like about a half teaspoon chili powder. This is just a Very hot. Chili powder, cumin seed powder, a teaspoon, coriander again, teaspoon, half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of garam masala. I've got some ground pepper, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grinds. So you'll see now, watch how the color starts to change. You've got a nice paste coming towards that. Chuck in a bit of fresh coriander into that. Then we'll deglaze the pan a little bit, so here's a bit of water here, look. Not too much. You see it's deglazing. Oh, look at that. Now this, remember, it's not. I like coriander, so I add a bit more coriander. That's a very simple. I'll take it down a little bit. Tomatoes. For a minute on medium heat. We let that cook down a little bit. Have a look. I'll come back in a minute and see how it's developed. So that's your base masala. And now we've got the potatoes. So I'm just cut them in small cubes. You can see. So it cooks quite quickly. Not too many either. Increase the heat a little bit on this now. I'm cooking it high because I want to see if I can toast. I can see the coconut oil on there. Splash of oil just to get my depth in that. It's all about the colours. Can you see the vibrancy? So you've got red, orange, bit of green. And you can just put the lid on this, cook it, and it'll be a very hot potato curry. So lid back on. And remember, this is on high now, so we'll cook it on high for a minute or two without even stirring. So it might catch. This is a non-stick pan, but it might catch at the bottom, which is actually fine. You can see the colour developing. That's what we're looking for. That's the sound we want. As I said, it's a non-stick pan, but the sugars are coming out now. Like I said, you can add whatever vegetables now to that. That's been cooking away. Now add chickpea. What do they call it in the States? Garbanzo or chana. Chole, so many words for them. So remember, it's still on high heat. Already developing nice color to that. On high heat. I add a little bit of coriander throughout because up to me. And that itself is an amazing dish. chana aloo, like a brunette type. But as I said, we're making it Jalfrezi. Jal means usually hot and fried. Use the jal fry, the hot fry. So it's very robust, lots of flavor you can see. So remember, still on high, still cooking away. All it's doing is going to reduce much liquid. Once you reduce the liquid, the oil starts releasing, the sugar starts releasing, it caramelizes and gives a sweet flavor. You don't want to do it too much, otherwise it gets bitter. As you can see, you have to listen. So I can hear that sizzle. When you get those sizzles, so now I've got a bit more water here. So I always add a little bit of water at a time. Let me deglaze the side. Fill up with the water. So I started off with about 300 milliliters of water. I've got about 150 left. So this is, now we're just going basically to cook down the potatoes. And when the potatoes are cooked down, chickpeas are cooked, so, but I don't want them too hard either. I want them to have a nice soft flavor. It's all about, can you see the colours? High heat now, so it's come to the boil. I will put it onto a medium low heat. Have a touch. Always use the water to scrape a little bit on the side up. So we'll use the heat there. Put the lid on and we'll cook that for about 5 minutes. So I'll check after a couple of minutes just to see if the potatoes are cooked through. And then we'll finish the dish off with the final elements. So it's been simmering away. Wow, look at that speed. That's what we're looking for. About 2.5 minutes for a start. So not expecting to be cooked, but that's very hard to do. Just put the heat down a little bit more. So it depends on your potatoes. That's your timing. I don't want too much liquid, but I'll add a little bit more. I'm just gonna wait for the potato to cook down.
I'm making third place.
Yep. We're just gonna wait for the potato to cook down. I'll come back. We're just reducing, all we're doing is intensifying the flavour. Add a bit more water now. It's been sticking, that's why I'm adding more water. Like I said, I want this potato to cook down a bit. I'm creating a gravy as well. With all the tomatoes, all the rubbish flavours. Where the potatoes are fairly soft now. A little bit of time left, so I'm going to add a couple of tomatoes. As you can see, look, that's like the gravy you get, the IR style restaurant gravy that a lot of people are after. The potatoes are Oh, that's quite good. Just add loosen it up a little bit just to now increase the flavor of this. Put the heat up now and whack it up. See what happens now. Add lime, just a little squeeze. The heat a little bit. The lime's been added, now I'm going to reintroduce onions and the peppers from before. And he's cranked up now. You add, this is where you add a lot of coriander. Touch of garam masala. So now we coriander there, and you can see the oil will start rising. We put the heat down a little tiny bit. Put the lid on. It's risen. Wow, look at that. Look at that. Now that's what we're after here. Put the heat off now. Wow, look at that. Take this off. Take this off the heat. Look. Alright, there you have it. Got chickpea and potato jalfrezi. No base gravy or anything. It's my way. Nice and hot and full of flavor. What are we cooking today? What do we have? Today, we're making a nice vegetarian dish or vegan dish consisting of cabbage and carrots, a few green peppers, and some sliced runner beans. This will be cooked with some onions, a bit of garlic, a chili or two, some mustard seed, and out of these spices, a little bit of turmeric and only garam masala, a bit of black pepper, a bit of salt, and be all cooked in a nice vegetable oil. And we're cooking it in this nice non-stick wok. It's a bit of a favorite of mine. It's like a coleslaw. It's got tangled cabbage and veg and greens, and a very healthy dish. So let's cook. So let's get started cooking our cabbage. The first thing, we need to cover the bottom of the karai, the wok, say about 3 tablespoons, a little bit more. Let that shimmer away. And I've got here approximately about 2 medium-sized onions that I've sliced. Just want to check the heat. First things first, what I'm going to do is add a very small pinch of mustard seeds. I don't want too much, so you have still kept that. I'm going to let that splutter. The oil's getting hot, so we let the mustard seeds splutter a little bit, starting to come alive. So while that's warming up as well, we'll take this onion, because that was my test onion. I don't want to overcook it. And the mustard seeds are fizzing away. Got these nice small chilies. They're not too, look, about 1.5 inches. So we add the chilies to that. The oil's spluttering now, you'll see. And we add, heat up is sizzling away, look at that. You can add more chilies if you want to. I'll add another chili, so there's 4 little chilies there. You just put quite a bit of onions in this dish, make it sweet. And now I've got some chopped garlic as well, about 4 small cloves. So all of that's going in now. I'm not cooking at too much of a high heat. Get that all in. I'm going to cook that fairly slowly with the garlic, otherwise it will start burning. So it's on a medium heat for now. And every time you cook in a wok, it's easier because you can just bring things in from the side and the oil is sitting here and it cooks there. If it's flat, it's not always the case for this kind of dish, especially when you want to make a base for your curry or bhajis or anything. So we add less than a teaspoon of salt. That will start drawing out the moisture. So we're getting the onions quite translucent because we're making a more sweeter flavor. We don't want it too dark. And there you have. Let's have a look. So it's slowly releasing the sugars, making this quite sweet. Look at that. I'm just going to add some turmeric to this now. That nice big teaspoon. Touch of garam masala. Just a tiny touch, something I like. Now we are starting to bring these flavors out. Look at that. There, you can see it's getting nice yellow color there. And it's simmering away in the oil. That's what we want. We want to be cooking it gently. You can see it's about gentle cooking of this dish. If you cook it too harsh, start burning the onions. This way it's slowly caramelizing. And we don't want too much color on this, so it's getting almost to the time we add our vegetables. Got a nice array here of vegetables. So we've got cabbage, a few bits of sliced pepper, and after the julienne them. And add that. So we add the carrots first. We just give them a stir. Remember, this is all from medium to low, not too high heat. You can start. So adding a bit of carrots and now the green pepper. Remember, all of this, and the carrots take the longest probably to cook, but because I've made them really thin, not going to take too long. And we're going to steam this in a second when I put the cabbage in, and you'll see there's a complete different colors on this one. Look at that, beautiful. We've got a touch of black pepper into that, just to give additional bite. You don't want it hot, just don't put the green chilies. Well, put one in. Now I'm going to add the cabbage. Shredded as finely as I could. I've actually sliced it. So look at that. So that we need that to wilt a little bit, which won't take too long. So we coat all the cabbage in that turmeric oil. Look at that. So we're a bit of a like a coleslaw type dish. You can have it cold as coleslaw if you really wish. And now we start in. Look at that. There you are. That's nicely coated. Can you see? Now this will all steam, break down, release its own water, the liquid from itself. So so these are runner beans, stringless runner beans I've bought. I've sliced them long ways. So again, it's all about developing layers of flavor and putting your vegetables all in at different times as well. They all cook slightly different and take up different flavors. I've covered that. They don't take too long to cook these. Mix that in. There, look at that. That is beautiful. If you really like raw food, you can eat this now and it'll be amazing. And I just want to add coriander to that. Look at that. So that's what we're going to do is put the lid on, leave it on a very low heat, and we're just going to let that steam. It should take about 10 minutes, but check after 5, give it a stir, and we'll be back. So the cabbage, carrots, and the beans have been steaming on extremely very low heat for about 15 minutes. So let's have a look. Let's have a look what it looks like now. So the reveal, wow, that is steam. Look at that, cooked so nicely. Now what I'm going to do, because there's still a bit of liquid in there now from all the veggies, from the steaming, whack the heat up full and just stir fry that for about 2 minutes on high heat, and there just to reduce some of the moisture, but otherwise look at that. That is what we want. And there you have it. Let's switch that heat off, steam settle down a bit. Beautiful. There you have, very classic dish, updated. Addition of a few little veggies. Enjoy. Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel, Chef Naz Life is Spice. So today we're going to be cooking some bhindi. So I've got some fresh bhindi. If you don't know, it's also known as okra. It's one of my favorites. It's a very simple dish, a bhindi bhaji. Just going to be using some onion, some fresh garlic, 1 green chili, some spices, just whole ground spices, just powdered spices of turmeric, some cumin and coriander, a bit of vegetable oil, and we have something special here. It's amchur, which is a mango powder, dried mango powder, so that gives a nice little piquancy. And we're also going to use a bit of fresh coriander leaves. So let's get cooking. So I'll put the heat into about medium to medium high. So I just want some oil, just cover the pan. It's about a tablespoon, about 30 ml, 40 ml. Wait for that to get hot. I always put an onion in there, check the heat, throw in the onions. So just going to saute the onions off a minute or so. Add about 2/3 teaspoon of salt to this one. So I've watched the heat up higher, and as you can see I've chopped the onions this time. Look, it's a different texture. But this is a dry dish, it's a bhaji. So it's a bhindi bhaji, no gravy, no sauce. So the onions will get caramelized in this. So just fried okra basically. Add chili. These are slightly translucent. So the garlic there, sliced garlic. I whack the heat up quite high. I need to get a little bit of colour, but not too much. Before I add the spice. The okra, many people find it gets slimy, but it's got to cut it to a bhaji like this. And then we're going to stir fry this. First we steam a little bit, then we whack the heat up and stir fry. These are cooking out nicely. For a slightly more golden colour than this, they're translucent now, the onions. See the onions turn very quickly. They're very light golden, as you can see. Look at that. What happens if you leave them in too long? Start burning, which we don't want. Garlic will burn. So let's add a bit of spices. It's very lightly spiced, this dish. So we've got about 2/3 to half teaspoon of turmeric, half teaspoon of cumin, not too much. I've got a coriander in there, so about 2/3 teaspoon of coriander. And that's it for now. Just like that. Put the amchur in a moment, so just going to colour that a bit more. Remember, it's always about watching your onions, watching the spice cook out. That will cook out. And the heat's still quite high. And what I will do is, in a moment, in another minute, add the okra, the bhindi, stir fry that, and then just put it on steam for about 10 minutes approximately while it cooks. It should get tender. Once it's cooked through tender, then we'll heat the pan up higher and then stir fry and get some extra additional flavour to it, and add the amchur. Now it's starting to catch. Just keep an eye on this. Remember, this is a non-stick pan I'm using. The okra now, put that in. So there you have the okra. Now you notice not much spice. Add some spice to this. I like to add a bit of coriander, that's optional. Like, so we're just going to stir fry that a bit. Roughly on a high heat, a minute or so. For this dish you need to use a non-stick pan, otherwise. Now all I'm going to do is reduce the heat to a very low flame. Put the lid on, and we're just going to steam that for approximately 10 minutes. But check after a few minutes, 5 minutes, just to see it hasn't stuck to the bottom, and also just to see its tenderness, because we don't want it to get too overcooked either. It needs to have a little crisp. It's been about 5 minutes, so I'm just going to have a quick look at this. It's been steaming away. Look at that. Look at that. You can see it. Yeah, there's a bit of caramelization in the onions, a little bit. It is a bit sticky, as you can see. That will go away. It's actually almost very tender. 5 minutes. Check the seasoning oil. Use a bit more salt. It was cooked quicker than I thought it would. I'm going to add a bit of this amchur powder, not too much, about half a teaspoon. A bit of tanginess to that. Now I'll say it cooked quicker than I thought, so I'm going to increase the heat and just stir fry it. So we're basically stirring out so it's sticking. You see, you want the sticky, it's quite crisp. And that's it. Coriander. There you have it. It's actually done. What are we cooking today? Courgettes. So I've julienned some courgettes there. I've got some broad beans that I've julienned as well. A bit of onion, some garlic slice, green chili, coriander. And again, it's a very plain ground spices. Turmeric we're going to use, some coriander, some cumin, and a bit of garam masala. No red chili, a bit of salt, and some oil. And this dish, we're going to put in an egg at the end. Watch, it's very unique. It's a beautiful dish. So let's have a look at this. It's courgettes, green beans, egg, tempered with garlic, onions, chili, and a little bit of spice. Let's get cooking. I've got a tablespoon and a half of vegetable oil, heating away. I don't want it quite nice and hot. So this dish is a nice vegetarian dish. I've julienned the courgettes, or zucchini, as some people call them. So it won't take too long to cook. So the first thing we do while the oil is warming up, sliced chilies. So the chilies warming up nicely. This time I'm putting the garlic in. Let that infuse the oil a little bit. See, and I've got a white onion and half a red onion in there. Now we're on a medium heat. Not going to take too long to cook. We'll watch the heat a little bit now. So it's medium high now. About half a teaspoon of salt in there. You can add a bit more later. This is a very simple dish, so we're going for simple bhaji with a twist at the end. That's cooking nicely. So fairly medium-high heat. I'm going to whack the heat up to high now. I want that to cook quite quickly. It's a bit of a stir fry. That's been cooking for about 2-3 minutes on a high heat. So we're going to add just a teaspoon of turmeric in here, less than a teaspoon of cumin, 2/3 of a teaspoon of coriander, and about a third of a teaspoon, well, about half a teaspoon, sorry, of garam masala. And that's the only spices I'm going to use in this. There's already lots of chilies. We don't need to cook that through too much. We're going to add the beans. Look at that. That's nicely julienned. You must cut it thin and julienne it. Quick stir. There's no additional moisture in there, but you're going to start getting moisture from the vegetables. Courgettes. Now the courgettes will release a bit of water back into this. So we just coat that. You might think, no, Now we put it on a very low heat. We just put the lid on, low heat. Now we steamed that for about 10 minutes, similar to when I made a bindi bhaji. Just want it to soften up nicely, and we'll come back to it and finish it off. It's been about 10 minutes. We've had it on a very low flame, the courgettes. So let's just see what it looks like. What's that? Broken down. That's broken down nicely. It's very soft. Look at that. So what I'm going to do now, because I want to put the heat up full whack. It's soft. You can eat that now, it's no problem. But I'm going to make a little gap in there. What I'm going to do is crack an egg. And a little egg. These are 2 medium-sized rearranged eggs. So you want that scramble. So we're going to just let that set together. That's setting there. Now remember this is on high, so you mix in. Oh, look at that. So now you've got the egg running through that. It's a very cool Bengali way of cooking, of increasing your protein in your vegetables. If you don't want the egg, it's not a problem. You just do this stage, cook it on a high heat just to give it a quick stir fry, reduce some of the liquids. And what the egg actually does is takes a lot of the oil as well. And then look how dry it's becoming. Wow, look at that. And there you have courgette, beans, bhaji. And we're done. So put the heat off, garnish, and there you have it. That is julienne of courgette, julienne of runner beans, cooked with egg and spices and garlic.